Hey guys, today I wanted to talk about a mental toughness challenge that I've been doing called 75 Hard. I've mentioned it in my last couple of videos and I just wanted to touch on what it is, why I'm doing it, and some of the tips and tricks that I have figured out that help me go through it, because at this point I'm about halfway through. It is a mental toughness challenge that was made up by Andy Frisella, who is the owner and founder of a company called First Form that sells like protein and protein bars and supplements and things like that. He also has a podcast that's the Real AF podcast, I think is what it's called now. It used to be called something different, but it changed. I've listened to it on Spotify, and he has a couple of different podcasts talking about why 75 Hard, what it is, why he has these rules that he's made up for it. I will link that down below because I do think it is a great listen. I've actually listened to it a couple of times now because it's great just to refresh. But basically, this is a mental toughness challenge that focuses on 5 main rules. So there are 5 things that you need to do no matter what. The first thing is that you need to read 10 pages of a nonfiction book every single day. So in his suggestions for books, a lot of times it's things like self-improvement books or business entrepreneurial books. Basically, you want to be reading something that's going to teach you something and expand your mind. Fiction stories are great, but that's not really what he's talking about when he sets out these rules, because those aren't necessarily going to help you learn anything. So I will list some recommendations, or I'll mention some recommendations here towards the end. But that's the first rule. The second rule is that you need to take a progress picture every single day. The progress pictures are supposed to be so that you can see the transformation, and it's something that's the easiest thing for you to forget. I have a couple of friends that have been doing 75 Hard with me, and they've had to restart a couple of times because they forgot just their progress picture. So he talks about in his podcast that progress pictures are basically so you can see the progress, but part of it is that it's something that you don't want to see. You don't want to, at the beginning of this challenge, look at yourself and see what the picture looks like most of the time, because otherwise you wouldn't be starting this type of challenge. You need to drink a gallon of water every single day, which at the beginning seemed like so much, and now it doesn't seem like that much. But a lot of the importance of that one is really making that an all-day thing. So you need to start in the morning and work your way through. You're not going to drink a gallon of water at the end of the day and be okay. You have to get in 2 45-minute workouts every single day. One needs to be an outdoor workout no matter what the conditions are. So it can be raining, snowing, sleeting. It still needs to be outside, whatever it is that you're doing. And then one can be indoors. They can both be outdoors if you want to. It doesn't really matter, but one has to be outdoors. And they should both be 45 minutes. They're not supposed to be convenient. So it's not supposed to be like I do my indoor one and I do my outdoor one back to back, which I didn't realize at the beginning of the challenge. I thought that you could do that. And so my first couple of weeks I did that, and then I listened to his kind of 75 Hard reformatted podcast. He did 2 different ones. So he had one that had just the basics, and then he went one that he went into a little bit more deeply. So that one I switched up once I figured that out. And so I have one in the morning usually and one in the afternoon. And then the last thing is that you stick to a diet. And he made it so that you get to choose what that diet is. So whatever your diet is, you have to stick to. You can't have any cheat days, and you can't have alcohol during the 75 days. So this 75 Hard, it stands for 75 days that you're going to do this continually. You're going to follow all of those rules without stopping. If you mess up on any of your days, if you forget to read your 10 pages or you forget your progress picture, you have to start over on day 1 and go for full 75 days. And I thought that this was such a great mental toughness challenge because it really forces me to do things that I probably wouldn't do otherwise, but also I really need to get my habits in check. So for me, the biggest problem is not working out. For me, I make a lot of excuses for myself about what I eat and my diet. So it tends to be that I will eat a lot of trash foods. I will feel terrible about myself. I will binge on those and just make excuses for myself like, well, it's just that I'm so stressed, so I can have a full box of cookies. Like things like that where I eat terribly, I don't make good choices, and I make excuses for myself. And I can see it and feel it in my body. I know that those choices are making an impact on how I feel about myself, but then I'm not doing something about it. And I don't have a lot of self-control when it comes to snacking. This past year has been a really, really stressful year for me. I switched schools that I was teaching at. I switched subject areas I was teaching. I was taking a full load of grad school classes on top of that, and it was just a lot. And I did not eat well. So I had joined this gym that I absolutely adore around this time last year, last February or so. And I started out with them, and I did a challenge where I was eating really, really healthy. I was working out consistently, and I lost about 10 pounds during that challenge. And then throughout the year, I gained most of that back because I was stress eating. And then I did another challenge with them and I lost a lot of the weight again, and then I bounced right back. And so most of that came down to I wasn't controlling what I was eating. And so this challenge for me was huge in working on changing my habits so that I'm not eating a lot of the candy and the sweets and the cookies, that I'm being careful about what I'm choosing for portion control, that I'm not eating out at fast food restaurants constantly. And those are some of the main problems that I have with my diet. The working out side of things, I love my gym, so I'm happy to go to my workouts regularly. I generally like drinking water. I usually have quite a bit of water, maybe not a gallon, but I usually have a lot of water. So some of these things I already did, but it was just pushing it to the next level. But the main reason for me that I decided to do this was I needed some accountability to change my habits and get myself uncomfortable and fix my diet side of things and stop making excuses for myself. The other side of it was that I had set some resolutions for myself, things like I'm going to read 15 minutes every day, and then I would get stressed out and I'd make excuses for why it wasn't happening. When I know that I could make time for it, I just wasn't being disciplined enough. And so I decided that I was going to do this. I heard Hope Scope talk about it, and after she did it, I had spent a couple of months like thinking about whether I was going to do it or not. And I finally decided at the end of February that yes, I was going to step up. I was going to do this for myself because I needed something to change drastically in my habits because the way I was eating was not healthy. And I know a lot of people who make the excuses like, well, I work out a lot so that I can eat whatever I want, which is great, but I don't have enough self-control that when I do that, that I eat a reasonable amount. And I can feel that in my body. Like the way that my weight fluctuated so much this past year was very apparent that I didn't have enough control for that. So this is helping me practice those skills. I am about halfway through 75 hard. So a couple of things that I have for tips and tricks that I've been doing. So the first thing that I've been doing, Sarah Brithany, who is another YouTuber, had mentioned right around that time that I was choosing to start this, she had mentioned that she was going to she had mentioned that she was about halfway done with it. And so she had made this little checklist that I printed out. So I will leave her channel and her video links down below as well. But she had made this little checklist that has all of the things mentioned on it that you can check off as you go so you don't forget anything. And for me, I like to go in and each time I do a different workout, I mark off what it is. So like I wrote down my gym workout, and then that day I went for a 4.5 mile run. Your outside workouts don't have to be crazy strenuous every single day. Like it's not great for your body if you're going crazy hard with every single workout every single day. Like if you don't give your body a chance to recover, it's not amazing for your body. So I try to incorporate sometimes with some of my workouts, like sometimes I will go for a walk instead of a run. Sometimes I will do like yoga instead of doing a full out, full body weight training workout. I try to kind of mix those things in there so that it's not always crazy strenuous on my body. I definitely do not run every single day, but I run a couple times a week. A couple of my outside workouts are walks. I've gone rollerblading a couple different times. As the weather's getting warmer, I plan on going biking a couple of different times for my workout outside. Last week it was really, really nice outside, so I did my cardio workout just outside in the backyard. So things like that, you can kind of mix it up. So it doesn't have to be crazy strenuous all the time, which is probably better for your body ultimately. But anyway, I marked those off. On her checklist, she made the inside and outside workout 2 different ones, which I think is helpful because then I make sure that I get both in, but I can check them off. So I'm moving on I'm on day 37 today. Another thing that has helped me a lot was when I started this, I posted it to Facebook because I wanted to be able to I wanted people to know that I was doing it so that I held myself accountable to it. It would have been very easy for me, I think, to say, okay, I'm going to do this and tell it to myself and not say anything about it and then just fall off and not complete it. But when I did that, it did a couple of things for me that was actually really great for me. It helped me find an accountability partner. So one of the people at my gym that I'm friends with now that I didn't know super well when I started, he was like, hey, do you want me to do this with you? And he joined in with me. He started a couple days later than me, but having him to kind of check in on, and we talk constantly now, like we message on Facebook all the time about, how we're doing for that day, our struggles, our triumphs. We hold each other accountable, which is nice. And we also just share motivational little messages and things like that with each other, which it's great to have people on that journey with you. My husband was not willing to do this with me, which is fine. He's been supportive of it, which I appreciate. He's gone on some of my walks with me. He is helping me stay eating healthy. But I think it would have been a lot harder for me if I didn't have somebody on the journey with me. So having this friend join in with me was great. And then a couple other people from the gym joined in as well. So like actually our owner of our gym joined in. I think he's struggling right now though, because he's trying to figure out the at-home workouts and get all that stuff done, and he's crazy busy. But having a couple other people to just kind of share the journey with helps. I know it's not something that everybody can depend on, but I've liked having that for me because it's just a little extra motivation. I found that having a really big water bottle, so this is a 32-ounce water bottle, having this with me every day has been huge for me. So I know that I need to have 4 of these to get a gallon. And so I start in the morning. When I first wake up, I have one of these usually before I am ready to start work. And then I have to spread them out throughout the day. When we were actually in school right now, our schools are shut down and we're doing remote learning, so I'm at home all the time. But when we were actually in school, I had to time that very carefully because as a teacher, I had to be very aware of when I could have time to go to the bathroom. So if I had too many of my water bottles before school started, it was an issue because I don't have enough of a break between my classes to use the restroom. I basically had to be careful of that, and I drink a lot more of my water in the afternoon then. Right now, because I'm working from home, I'm able to kind of span it out a little bit easier. So I usually have 2 of those before noon, and then I finish off the other 2 after. With my diet, I'm more going calorie based right now and trying to kind of balance my macros out so that they're reasonably balanced. I started out with way too few calories, so I lost about 4 pounds in the first week because I cut my calories drastically. I'm kind of upping them, so I have a basic weight goal of where I'm trying to get to. Right now I'm down about 8 pounds from where I started, being about halfway through this, and I don't want to lose a ton more weight. It's not necessarily a weight thing, but I did want to take off some of the fat that I had gained from stress eating and not eating healthily. So as I kind of hit that weight goal, I'm going to up my calories a little bit further so that I'm not like losing a ton of weight. That's not my goal in this. Mostly it's to control my eating so that I'm not eating trash. So I use my FitnessPal to track my food and kind of pay attention to how my meals are balanced and how my macros are balanced. It is something where I want to make sure that I am eating clean, and that's the biggest thing. Andy Frisella kind of talks about how like if you have one M&M, you're not meeting your goal, you need to start over. I've been really not eating sweets. I've been not eating a ton of fat. I have some fat in my diet, but I don't have like a ton of fat in my diet. And then I try to balance, make sure I'm getting enough protein and carbs in there to fuel my workouts. I'm getting enough nutrition to nurture my muscles, and I track my water in there as well. So my FitnessPal is super helpful. It's nice because you can just like scan barcodes of different foods that you're eating, and it calculates the serving sizes and things. Like obviously if you have different serving sizes, you have to adjust that, but it makes it a lot easier to track my foods and kind of track where I'm at, which is really, really nice. I have a few favorites. I'm very much a routine type of person, and so for me, I have some favorite foods that I use. I really like, I have this baked oats recipe that I've been doing, which is basically like overnight oats that you then put in the microwave the next morning, and it's delicious and has been my go-to favorite. A lot of times for lunch, I will have egg white and spinach sandwich. So I'll have like Dave's Killer Bread is the bread that I typically use. So I'll use a couple of slices of that and egg whites and spinach. I'm eating a lot of vegetables. I'm eating a lot of fruits. And so those types of things, if you guys are interested in seeing like a what I eat in a day or my recommendations for some of my favorite meals that are lower calorie and healthy and clean, let me know that. I would like to do that. I'm not necessarily great at filming those types of things, so if you're interested, let me know. I've got a little bit more time right now to do that. For my indoor workouts, I typically use my gym. So my gym right now is shut down like most gyms are, but my trainer is still doing Zoom sessions, which is great, and he also does like Facebook Lives where you can join in even if you're not part of his gym. So I've been using those for my indoor workouts most times. I've also downloaded a couple of apps that I really enjoy. So I have been doing the The Nike Training Club app has some yoga stuff on it that I really like, and a couple of strength things that I've done, but I mostly use that one for yoga. I downloaded the Alive by Whitney app, which is Whitney Simmons' app. She's a Gymshark athlete, if you're not familiar with her. And she does some really good like strength and cardio training ones. So I've been using that to supplement my gym workouts if they were shorter, or on days that he doesn't do those. So like he doesn't do stuff on Sundays ever. So I've been using that on Sundays a lot of times. But I really like that app. It's a $15 app after the week free trial, but I really like it enough that I paid for it for this next month because I kind of enjoy having those extra workouts to do. And those are the main ones that I do for workouts. But, oh, and MadFit on YouTube, she does like just a free YouTube channel. She has some really great workouts as well. I've done a few by her and they are intense, but they're great. So those are kind of my workout things. A lot of times I will run or walk for my outdoor workout. Honestly, the walks are nice to have like that balance. So if I go really hard in my training session and my indoor workout, it's nice to have like a walk to balance it out. But I also had signed up for several half marathons that were supposed to happen in May and June that have been kind of deferred now. But it's good to still get out there because if I don't have motivation to do it, I won't. So I'm trying to still get out there and run. So like today I'm supposed to do my long run. I'm supposed to do a 9.5 mile run today. So I'll try to get out there and do that. But those are kind of like my tips and tricks that have helped me, is making sure I have a kind of a gauge. So like my water bottle and knowing I need 4 of these is helpful. Having accountability partners, having my checklist. I haven't had to start over yet. But most of the other people that are in my group that I've been doing 75 hard with had to start over. And it's been mostly the progress picture. Oh, my other tip for the progress picture that I took away from Hope Scope was that she said she makes a production out of it because that way you're less likely to forget, which I thought was a great tip. So instead of just doing like a frontal selfie picture, I do a front, a side, and a back picture, and I do a timer with it. And it's because it takes me a couple minutes to do, it's not something I easily forget. It's something that I kind of have like, oh, okay, I need to go do my pictures. And it's a little bit more of a thought because it's a little bit more time consuming. I try to do those in the morning because it just helps me know that it's done. Oh, and my other tip for my workouts, I split them up. So right now, very like most people are, my days are really weird. So I do have a routine. I'm at school doing like my work for remote learning stuff from 8:15 to 3:45 every day. And so I make sure, because for me routine is essential, I make sure that I get up and I do my indoor workout before I start my work hours at home. And then I save my outdoor workout for after. And that helps me a ton just because I know that I have that scheduled in and I know when those are gonna be. If I don't have routine, I think things are a lot harder for me. So that week of transition where we actually had spring break and then they announced that our school was closed, there was like that week of transition, figuring out what we were going to do for remote learning and figuring out what working from home looked like for teachers. And I didn't have a good routine set up at that point. My gym hadn't figured out how they were going to do like their online workouts and things like that yet. So I didn't have anybody fully holding me accountable to those. And so during that time, I would put off my workouts and I'd do one after school and then I'd have dinner and then I'd do the other one. And that was not working for me because mentally it was so much harder for me to drag myself out and to do those things. So knowing that I have a time that I'm going to do my morning one and my afternoon one helps me a lot. It makes me more prepared and more excited about it, and it does a lot for me to make sure that I'm doing them and doing them well. A couple of the books that I would recommend, some things that I have been reading recently. So I've read the Rachel Hollis books, so Girl Wash Your Face and Girl Stop Apologizing, which I absolutely loved both of those books. I thought those were great. I just finished You Are a Badass, which I didn't love. There were parts of it that really resonated with me, but a lot of it was not necessarily my thing, but I kind of have a thing about finishing books. I read this one called Good to Go, What the Athlete and All of Us Can Learn from the Strange Science of Recovery, which was actually super interesting. It was talking about all the different science studies that people do on like different recovery methods for athletes. So things like icing your knees and like rest days and supplements and things like that. It was actually super interesting, and it's not a book that I would have normally picked up, but there was some stuff that I took away from it that was super interesting. I've read a couple with swear words in the name, so Get Your Shit Together, The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving an F, un-F yourself, those types of things. I'm not going to say them because I want to be more family friendly, but those were interesting. They weren't my favorites, but they were fine. I think I gave them like 3 or 4 stars on Goodreads. They weren't like amazing, but there were some interesting points to them. If you guys have any really good recommendations for nonfiction, like self-help, business, those types of books, leave those in the comments down below. I am generally very much a fiction reader, and that is more what I'm into. So nonfiction is like a little bit of a foreign territory for me. I've read more of them this year, but they're not my general go-to. So if you guys have really good recommendations for those, leave those in the comments down below for me, because I would be curious what some of your good recommendations would be. Right now I'm reading one called Daring Greatly, I think is what it's called. I just started that one this morning, but that's pretty much it. So those are some of my tips and tricks. Those are some of the things that I've been doing. I'm halfway through today, or tomorrow. I'll be halfway through tomorrow. So I am excited about doing this. It's been really a great experience for me and something that's really motivated me, especially in this weird time where there's so much uncertainty. I know that I normally would have eaten everything in my house by now. And I feel much better about myself knowing right now that I have these boundaries that'll help keep me on track so that I'm not completely diving off the deep end. It would be so easy for me right now to completely give up on my diet and to completely stop moving and not do those things that I know actually make me feel better. So I'm glad that I have this in my life right now. If you guys are doing 75 hard, let me know that in the comments down below. Or if it's something you're interested in doing, let me know. I would be happy to be your accountability buddy, because I think it is important to have people that kind of are on your side and they understand. I have talked to people about this before that are like, oh, that seems like that's too much. I don't know why you're doing that. But for me, it's something that I felt like I needed. So if you are interested in doing it and you just need someone to get it, let me know. I'm happy to be that person for you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you can take something away from it. Let me know if any of these are helpful comments for you. If you're interested in seeing a video that talks more about like what I eat or some of my favorite foods that I've been eating during this, let me know. A lot of these are things that even if I wasn't on this, I think I would keep eating because they're just awesome. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one.